All right, welcome in, Irish fans. Double dose of Indy Higgs podcast today. First, this one, we're breaking down Notre Dame versus Navy. If you heard me in the previous podcast, my wife and I just had a kid, so I'm a little bit behind on some of the fun things that I like to do outside of my professional life and personal, and in my personal life, I suppose. And then a little bit later today, we will break down the FSU versus Notre Dame game coming up this weekend. But first, Notre Dame versus Navy pregame breakdown. That's right here, right now. Please support the podcast. Hit that like button and the subscribe button. It goes a long way to supporting the podcast. Yes, I realize that it's like over here and subscribe over here. Anyway, doesn't matter. Appreciate you being here. Notre Dame versus Navy. Notre Dame got it done, 51-14. I will point out, 14 points against this Notre Dame defense has been. That's a good point total against this Notre Dame defense. That's not something that the Fighting Irish have really been giving up a whole lot this year. In fact, it's one more than Georgia Tech. So if we look at the games that we've played this year, A&M scored 13. NIU scored 14. NIU scored 16. Some of those were on offense, not against our defense. Miami, Ohio scored 3. Louisville scored 24. Stanford scored 7. Georgia Tech scored 13. And that was the first time that a team had scored 2 touchdowns in a game against our defense. One of them was in garbage time. So Navy is the first team to legitimately score 2 touchdowns during regular play against our defense. I want to be clear on that. Against our defense. So no pick six, nothing like that, right? They're a good football team. Now, their coach said, hey, I think we kind of played outside of ourselves a little bit. I think that's real. I think that's the reality of what we saw against this Navy team. This is not a team that normally commits any turnovers. They committed 6. They fumbled on special teams 3 times. All 3 times, or 2 of those 3 times, those fumbles led to turnovers. One of them, the fumble went out of bounds. You can't give up 27 points off of turnovers. We got a fumble recovery for a touchdown. We've got a punt fumble recovery that goes to be a touchdown. Another punt fumble recovery that goes to be a touchdown. We missed an extra point on one of those. Had an interception come. You cannot do that against this Notre Dame team and win football games. You just can't do it. 6 turnovers, you just don't have a chance. And 27 points, right? Would our offense have put up more points if they hadn't gotten, more? They would have put up fewer than 50, but would they have put up somewhere between that 27 and 0 mark? Yeah, they would have put up a couple more touchdowns. So we probably would have been 14 points or 13 points less than what we actually got with the turnover differential. But Navy probably scores on 1 or 2 of those drives as well. So that game could have been a lot closer if it weren't for the turnovers and if it weren't for some of the mental errors by Navy. They're a good football team. They just made some mistakes. I kind of think the big stage against a good team, against a team that wasn't letting them make mistakes, because Notre Dame capitalized on mistakes against Navy, and Notre Dame didn't make a lot of mistakes on defense. I think they showed really well how well built the defense is and how much this concept of cover your guy, take care of your business, and own your own responsibility on the field is really ingrained into this defense. That's what Notre Dame did well. And the ball awareness to understand that, 1, I know where the ball is at. 2, I'm going to fall on top of it, and I'm going to pick it up, scoop and score, whatever have you, right? Knowing where the ball is at on the field is probably something that Navy hasn't seen a whole lot in the defenses that they've played against. The level of ball awareness that this Fighting Irish defense has is top tier. I think it's the best in the country. So you're going to create opportunities for yourself if you know where the ball is on the field as the defense, because you're not going to give up as many big plays and have, like these big gouge kind of situations occur. And Navy still capitalized a few times. They still got a couple of big gouge plays. And that was something that if you recall, I was concerned about as we went into that game. How could Navy find weaknesses in our defense despite good ball awareness? Who were they going to pick on and how were they going to capitalize? And they broke for a couple of big plays. All right. I'm not going to stick around and talk a ton about that. We got FSU to focus on, so I'm going to leave it at that. I just want to say great job to the Notre Dame defense for really running that game. 6 turnovers. That's the story of the week. And there's not really a whole lot else that needs to be said. Riley Leonard played really well. Jeremiah Love played really well. The offense as a whole played really well. They really improved. But the story of the week is Notre Dame's defense. The story of 2 weeks ago. So I know you guys don't want to hear a whole lot more about that right now. I'll get this podcast up. I'll see you later tonight. Keep looking up. Go Irish. Love you all. See you soon.